Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Gregolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. Bout get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix, so get ready, cause we bout to get it poppin'. And we ain't stopping.
Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again. Yeah, we at it again. Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again. Yeah, we at it again. Yeah, yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Mangina Dialogues. I am your host, Nick Scopoletti.
And I am the Gregolicious.
And today, our guest, who had to suffer through that song, is Brian from Spafford.
Spafford.
I'm retarded. That's cool. I don't know how to read or anything. It's fine. So, Brian, what did you think of that song as a talented musician? What was your...
Did Dre produce that?
Sort of.
Yeah, dentist Dre.
How much did you have to pay for that one?
Well, it's a good story behind it.
It broke the bank. I won't say exactly how much, but it was somewhere between $13 and $16.
It's beautiful.
And he's like, Brian's like, yeah, it seems like that price. That's what it seems about
Worth
right.
every penny and double. So what's shaking? How's Phoenix?
Phoenix is beautiful. It's sunny right now. Me and Red just got done fixing the trailer tires again for the umpteenth time, and just hanging out here while you guys are freezing on the East Coast.
Yeah,
just laughing at you.
Fuck you guys.
Well, we appreciate the laughter. We got to get it somehow.
Yeah. For real.
So what's been going on with you the last couple months?
Just been off tour right now. We're just kind of hanging, getting a nice little break to spend with our families and such. Nice bit of traveling for the holidays and stuff like that. We don't really get to see our families too much when we tour as much as we do, so that's been really nice. But the weekdays, we just spend majority of our time in our rehearsal studio working on new tunes and old tunes and new gimmicks and new songs and all that stuff, just kind of keeping this train rolling.
Right. So you mentioned you're off the air before that you guys are just about to hit your 10-year anniversary as a band.
Yep, 10 years.
How did you guys all get together? Since you're
we all basically met in Prescott, Arizona, which is like a small mountain town north of Phoenix, and there was a really pumping open mic that was going on around there at the time. And Jordan and I decided to start going out to this open mic and just started playing some dispatch songs and some original tunes. And we covered Wagon Wheel a whole bunch and, just things to kind of keep the party going and stuff like that. And I guess people were just kind of asking us who we were and where did we come from and what was the band name and stuff like that. We didn't have a band name or anything. So that kind of prompted us to start looking for a band name. And then there was an opening for a New Year's Eve show in 2009 at Coyote Joe's, which was the bar that everybody was playing at. This was the hottest spot in town. And we grabbed a bass player and put the show together with about maybe 12 or 15 songs or something, and went out there for New Year's Eve. I think we repeated Midnight Rider 3 or 4 times that night. Didn't have any other material.
Not a bad choice though.
And each version was very different, and it just kind of sprung from there. We just started playing around Prescott a whole lot. I mean, sometimes we would play, every single weekend. We had a residency every single Wednesday. We were always kind of changing some members of the bands and stuff like that. We were always just playing with some local guys and stuff like that, just getting a feel for it. And at one point, our keyboard player at the time wasn't really interested in taking this much further and we had a gig to play out of Arizona for the first time at the Hard Rock Hotel. Actually, it was the Hard Rock Cafe in Las Vegas, opening for Particle.
Wow.
And our keyboard player at the time was like, "Hey, look, all the local stuff's been great, but this isn't for me, so I'm kind of taking off." And that was when we started auditioning for a keyboard player, and I knew Red down in Phoenix because I used to live down here, playing around in bands and stuff, and just gave him a call and was like, "Hey, man, got the band going up here. Like, I think it's a perfect fit for you. Like, we'd love to have you come in." And he said no.
All right.
Well,
Didn't see that coming.
And I was like, all right. So, and I called him back, like, there's nobody else in town. There's not like a huge, like, pool in Arizona, especially what we were looking for that had like some sort of like jam centric background. And I thought Red was just perfect for the gig. He obviously didn't think so.
And he let you know.
Called him, yeah. But I called him 3 days later and was like, "Hey, look, it's based on our last conversation, I get it, but I really do need a guy. And we got these big gigs coming up. We're opening for Particle. We had a couple other gigs until the end of the year, and he decided to come up and play the gigs. And he saw that we had some sort of fan base or something like that. And then we sat down after the New Year's that year and made it official that he was in. So that was kind of where we got the core group at that time.
So how did you get hooked up with the Particle show?
The Las Vegas Jam Band Society, Greg Sorensis, and all those guys over there started bringing us up to Vegas. There was somebody that moved 3 miles, moved from Vegas to Prescott, and randomly stumbled across us on one of our Wednesday night residency gigs. And that's when she was like, "Hey, I'm hooked up with this Las Vegas Jam Band Society, and I think you guys would be great, to do this gig for Particle. We usually get like some sort of like local opener to do it. So I think you guys would be great." And then she kind of threw us in there, and that opened up like so much for the band. I mean, that was where we started to get our Widespread Panic after parties and stuff like that, and further after parties was all because of that. Back in like 2012, 2013.
Wow. That is a hell of a good break.
It was a big break for us. I mean, we went up there and played a gig one time for the Las Vegas Jam Band Society. I mean, there was no more than 25 people at the show, but the one guy was in the back, and he was the talent buyer for the Las Vegas Country Saloon, which is where we played that gig, and he was leaving and was becoming the talent buyer for the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino.
Wow.
So we got a call from him like the next week and was like, "Hey, I was like literally grabbing the last of my stuff off my desk, and I heard you guys playing the song Walls, and it really resonated with me. I really loved it, and I want to give you guys this opportunity to do these after parties for Widespread Panic." So, of course, we took the gig, and we did that for, I think it was about like 3 years in a row that we did those Widespread Panic after parties in Vegas.
Right. So what are those about? I mean, obviously I know Widespread.
That was a huge break. That was at a new place called Vinyl, which Angie Dice Clay was like, it was like his like mainstay in Vegas.
Right.
So we would jump on the stage and there would be like 4,000 cigarette butts that we would have to play around. And it was great because everybody that was going to Vegas to see Widespread was from everywhere in the country.
Right.
It was obviously like a destination show, and when they got done, we just like opened like these doors, which was to this venue that was literally right next to the joint, which is where they were playing, and we just hoped that people would filter in, and they just started coming in, and then if they liked what they heard, they would take it back to Boston or North Carolina or Florida or and then we started getting this like national recognition, or these people like in social media or whatever, like asking for us to come to their their little hole in the wall bars or venues that they had locally and stuff like that. So a couple of years of doing that, we kind of grabbed this national fan base without even really realizing it.
Right. And is that what started like you guys touring nationally, was just using that momentum?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things. Like we didn't really want to play in Prescott anymore. We kind of got kicked out of like the majority of the bars and venues up in Prescott. We just weren't allowed to play there anymore for a multitude of reasons.
And you want to share?
We just realized, like,
anyway.
I mean, there was a bunch of stories, but like one of the places that we were going to play, it burned down, unfortunately, before we were going to play one of our last gigs there. And when the place reopened at a new place, we brought our fog machine and like fogged the entire place out, and the fire alarm started going off. And I think it like sent everybody into like PTSD. And they were like, "You guys can like not play here anymore because this is like too much." And we would take like all day to do sound checks. So we'd be sitting there, and Jordan would be running the board, and Nick would be up there like hitting the snare drum for like, an hour trying to get the best sound. And like the local drunks and the local guys are all just sitting at the bar like yelling at the bar owner because we're sitting there just like, cracking whips the entire time.
Right.
So they just weren't into like the level of production that we were putting into things. And another place we went in and like the bar is like, the bar is behind, or the venue, the stage is behind the bar. It's like risen up behind the bar. And it's kind of like you just put a country band up there and people are kind of dancing out in front and stuff like that. Well, we didn't really want to do that. So we set up on the other side of the room where the original stage was and brought in our own PA and our own lights and stuff like that and moved like all the chairs and tables like out of the way because we wanted people to dance and have a good time. They want people to like sit down and drink and just talk. So they kicked us out. We got in like a huge fight with them about that. They never let us back.
Got it. So the two bars in town were like, get out of town.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, fuck them. Fog machines are dope.
Yeah.
I love
them. Yeah,
them.
we set off a lot of fire alarms.
It's the record.
Do you guys still do that? You bring the fog machine everywhere?
We bring it everywhere, yeah. It's haze now, though, which is, I guess,
that's awesome.
Not as damaging, but
very cool.
Nick should start taking a fog machine with him everywhere.
No, I don't think that'll work.
All right, sorry. So I interrupted you. So back to like that's when you started touring nationally and just riding that wave.
Yeah. So that really prompted us to just like kind of get out of Prescott, which was just a small little town of like 40,000 people basically. And it had a nice music scene, and it definitely gave us a good start. And there was a bunch of jam heads up there, and we started coming down and playing Phoenix, and then we went up to Vegas, and then it kind of got us hooked up with New Mexico, and we started playing there, and then we started going up to Colorado, and then we started going to California, and then it took us, I think it was about 2016, the end of 2016, we did our breakout tour. Which is where we finally went to like Chicago, who was asking about us for a couple of years now since we were doing the widespread after shows. So that was our first like national tour.
That's pretty cool. So let's go to your name for a sec. Like, how did you guys come up with the name when you were tossing around different names to name the band?
Well, the real story is...
Tell us the fake story first.
Oh. It was made out. It was out of love.
You and Greg from Pigeons they have a very interesting story too.
I mean, we get it asked so many times.
Yeah, of course.
It starts to just kind of
bullshit
our way through it. Like,
right.
If it was a lower level publication or something like that, we would just make up like whatever. We just moan and groan through the answer.
So let's make believe.
But I'll tell you the real.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to make fun
I'll
of
tell you the real.
Shoot.
No, that's okay. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
But the real story was my good friend Mike was going to law school, and he called me one day. He's a very eccentric person, and he called me one day and said, "I have a great band name, and it's called Officious Tortfeasor." And I was like, "All right, what is that?"
That's definitely a law school name.
It's a law term for a general wrongdoer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's like too cool. Like, I'm kind of like a general wrongdoer. doer, like, aren't we all? You know, like,
I'm a bad boy.
I take my
Yeah.
fog machine everywhere.
super witty, and like people are going to think that we're cool and smart because we have this name. So we took it to one of the open mics that we were doing, and people were like, I think we had the New Year's gig lined up, so people were really curious. Like, we need a band name, you know, and I was like, all right, everybody, we got our band name, and they're like, all right, what is it? And on the mic, I go, Officious Tortfeasor, and like we got boos, you know, like across the board from everybody. They did not like it. It did not stick well at all. So I was like, all right, well, that's like obviously like a really hard name to remember. It doesn't really mean anything to anybody. So what's like the easiest band name that I could think of? And I was like, all right, well, what do you guys think about the band name being Bob? And they're like, no, that's even worse. Where are you going with this? And I looked at my buddy who was in the crowd, who's always been like, he's like that friend that, you know, was always like around and really loved the music and believed in us. And that's a whole nother story. His name is Chuck Spafford Johnson. And we always thought that his middle name was like really cool. So on the mic, I just said, all right, the band name's Spafford. And people like didn't cry about it. So it kind of just stuck at that point.
So that's like a random way to get your name. But that's actually pretty cool. Like the guy, that dude has like a great name.
He has a great name, and such a great name that we put him basically like in the band for doing various tasks for us. So he's been around for a long time, and Chuck has written some songs with us, and he did lights for a while, and runs like social media and does like a whole bunch of stuff for us. So it's kind of amazing to have him as a part of this. And
that's pretty cool that he's got a band named after him that he's semi in.
Right.
Yeah, and then he writes like poems about his life, which is very obscure, and then we, you know, write songs about it. So it's like kind of the lyrical content of Spafford is about this guy, Chuck Spafford Johnson.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. That's cool.
Right. Yeah. We didn't see that coming either.
I'm sure.
That's a good book in like 20 years.
Yeah, for real.
At some point, you got to name an album after him, like full thing, full name.
Oh yeah, well we did. We named the first one Spafford.
Well, right, but I meant the
whole name.
Yeah. You know, two B's, one not right next to each other.
So you guys are coming up on 10 years together?
10 years, yep.
Wow, that's incredible.
And you're celebrating that with 2 runs of amazing shows.
Yeah, we're getting the opportunity to go to the Roxy in LA, and then capping off the actual 10 years at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco.
Wow. That's pretty dope.
Awesome. I love the Roxy. I mean, I love both those places, but the Roxy is one of my favorite venues in the country. It's just, I mean, obviously it's iconic, but it's just such a cool room to see a band in, and very, you know, unique in the whole Sunset Strip history of venues. It's wild. I love that place.
Do we lose you?
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I was admiring your love for the Roxy because I have yet to been there. So.
Oh, really?
I was just excited to hear everything you had to say about it.
It's funny. Like, I've seen some of the best shows of my life there. Like, going back to, I don't want to date myself, but a long time ago.
He's old.
And then literally some of the worst. But one of the most unique shows I saw there in the last few years was Jane Wilden from the Go-Go's.
Oh, wow.
But she was, I don't even know how to explain this. I don't. I'll do a very shitty job attempting to. But it was like avant-garde jazz mixed with electronic music if you were on like a pound of mushrooms. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, like there's no, you can't, like, it wasn't even called like Jane Wilden Band. There was some other band I happened to stumble upon that she was in it. I'm like, okay, we'll go. And I literally felt like I was being punked. Like, I'm being punked with what they were doing, like what she was doing on stage. And I don't want to trash her in any way because I think the Go-Go's and that, you know, fantastic for what they were, but this was just insane. And then I was like, I can't stay here anymore, but I wanted to see some music, so we went to some other club to see this band that was the only other band playing called Bruhera, which is, have you heard of them by chance?
No, I haven't.
Okay, don't. They we walked into this club and I was like, I just walked into a drug deal. Like, these guys are on stage playing the fastest, most aggressive speed metal you could like envision, and they were all wearing bandanas over their faces, and their gimmick is like they're a drug cartel from Mexico. And they only sing in Spanish. So I went from like the weirdest to the weirdest. It was insane. But anyway, it started at the Roxy. It's an amazing place to see a band. You guys are going to have a killer time there. And when is it? Obviously, it's the next couple of weeks.
I can't wait. Yeah, it's the 27th and the 28th of December that we're at the Roxy. And then the 30th and 31st, we're at Great American Music Hall.
That's awesome. Are you playing with anybody on those shows?
No, I think it's an evening with on both nights. Or all 4 nights.
Well, that's awesome.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Who are some of your musical influences growing up?
Oh, growing up, I mean, from a young lad, one of my first CDs I ever got my hands on was a Less Than Jake album, which I adored, and got into Pennywise for a bit.
Yeah, I had that CD.
Right, Full Circle, and those, they were great. The Bro Hymn tribute, and then I got into like Bob Marley and Allman Brothers and stuff. A lot of Zeppelin. Probably when I was about 12 was when I stole my brother's Fish CDs, and he started coming home with tapes and stuff like that. So I got into Fish at a fairly young age, which kind of rolled me into the Grateful Dead at a young age. And I was like always like, looking for something of my own, because my brother was at like Great Went and Lemon Wheel and like did all those things. And I remember him leaving for these festivals, and I thought it was so cool. He had all these groups of friends he was doing it with. But by the time I went to high school, Fish took the hiatus, so there was we couldn't go see him. But all my friends growing up in Jersey were going to see the Disco Biscuits. I mean, that was the band to go tour around with. So I finally took my leap of faith with my friends in the summer of 2002 to go see my first Disco Biscuits concert, and that took the better. It was at Tootsie Mountain in Ballsburg, PA. It was Disco Inferno.
Yeah,
I think it was the second one that they did, and it pretty much like changed my entire view, my entire life at that point. I was seeing I saw like the Allman Brothers playing around that time, and I saw, a bunch of other concerts and stuff, but this was something different. This was like a community, and it was really cool. And then by 2003, Fish came back, in 2002, whatever it was. And then I finally went to my first Fish shows around then, when I was like maybe 17 or so. So that had even a more profound impact on me, because I was a huge Fish fan, but I never got to see him. And then I finally did, with this new resurgence and this new camaraderie that, with all my friends and all that stuff. So it was really, those are basically my influences, through high school. And then when I moved out to Arizona when I was 18 and started attending like a college out here, a local community college, and started taking all the music classes and stuff, and I really started getting into jazz, like Wes Montgomery and Joe Pass and all that, and really started taking on all that. So, and then I got into some singer-songwriter stuff as well, like Josh Rouse and Jeff Buckley, and those are my main influences.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have a teenage son he's all over the map in his music, but lately he's been really into jam bands. He just played in a Woodstock band, and he takes a lot of my musical influences, which is also all over the place. But the Grateful Dead is my all time. That's it. If anyone knows me knows that I'm a Deadhead, and so he's picked up on a lot of that, but he's taken it even further, and he's actually the one that really, and this is going to sound insane, exposed me to more Fish than I ever listened to in my years. Like I was
Wow.
the Grateful Dead. Like that was it. And I never really gave Fish that much time because when they first, kind of came around, I was of that age, and it seemed like, a little corny and a little too funny and fun and humorous kind of spin on the way they, the way they were, and
Right.
what they were about. And I was like, I'm a deadhead. I'm more serious, and I just didn't see it.
So you were a loser. Gotcha.
Kind of. And I just never really gave it time, which is crazy because both my cousins went to UVM at the same time as Trey. So like I knew all about it in the time frame of when they started the band, going, the whole Burlington Vermont scene and all of that. I just never really put that much time into it. And then when my son started getting into all this, I really started listening to it and can't believe that I've missed all of those years worth of Fish and all those Fish shows
wow.
I could have went to, and I was like so pissed. But the other day we were in the car and he's now listening to, List and Jake and all of those bands out of that era of that style of music, and I'm like, that's really weird. Like how you went from one thing and now he's a guitar player, so he's playing all of these things, and I hear all of those influences in the songs that he's like creating on the fly. And then when I listen to you guys for the first time, I hear a lot of the same stuff, right? So like when you say you were into Pennywise and Less Than Jake, and I'm sure it goes way deeper than that, like I hear that in the music. And
Yeah, it definitely rubs off and all that. All the guys, we have all of our own influences, and it's crazy the music that will come out, of the four guys from four different points of the country growing up and having their own experiences and their own upbringing, and coming and playing some freeform improvisation, which is basically what we're doing up there. I mean,
Right.
there's no really cues. We don't have a microphone to like talk to each other on stage. It's all by feel and gusto basically. And,
yeah.
we can go from a reggae groove to a hard rock, or, more of like a punkish feel or something like that.
Yeah.
So, everybody respects each other's, musical upbringings and stuff.
And
The guys have,
I was gonna say it's really fun music to listen to. Like if someone comes to your shows and doesn't leave with like a gigantic friggin' smile on their face, then
They're a sociopath.
Yes, they watch too many American Psycho movies.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up in New Jersey?
Bergen County, Rivervale.
How do you like that? Guess what? So did I.
In Rivervale?
Not in Rivervale, but in Woodcliff Lake, Saddle River.
Okay.
So you went to did you go to a high school
I went
that
to
had
Pascack Valley.
Okay, so I went to Pascack Hills.
Oh. I used to work at the Park Ridge Golf.
Did you really? Well,
I did, right across the street from the Burger King there.
Yeah,
I used to pump people's gas.
That is so funny. I did lots of golf. Very much Rivervale. I can talk about Rivervale all day. My dad owned a business in Rivervale. Spent a lot of time there. My cousins went to Valley. Actually, they lived in Hillsdale. So that's pretty wild.
That's stomping ground.
That's pretty wild.
Great.
Couple of Joyzy boys.
The thing is, there's like no good music in that. Like nowhere. At least when I was there was no good places to even go. You had to come into the city or cross the border into like Nanuet.
Right. Yeah. Olive.
Yeah. So where's the rest of the guys from? So you're in Jersey. You all obviously found each other in Arizona, but where are the rest of the other four guys from?
Nick, our drummer, he's an Arizona native, from Tucson. Jordan, he's from the South. It's a very confusing story. He was born in one place but raised in another and moved to another and all this. And so we just say he's from the South because it's from all over. And Red is from Rockford, Illinois.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like the Four Corners. Well, middle
Four
way.
corners.
It's the middle
basically.
side. So what? So you going into 2020? What are you guys just constant touring?
Yeah, I mean that's what we're good at. We come home and I think we all kind of fall apart a little bit because we don't know what else to really do.
Right.
We've really like pushed so hard and we're so arrogant about wanting to become touring musicians that we've really become touring musicians.
Yeah.
And although we love home life and everything, it's really nice to get back out on the road and share music for people. This is our calling. This is like what we're supposed to do. And, we're getting better at it. It hasn't been the easiest road, obviously, but it's been fun and a lot of ups and downs. But we think that 2020 is going to be like one of the biggest years for us.
That's awesome, man. I've been noticing, I don't know if it's just me, maybe I've been out of the loop and you could attest to this maybe, but I feel like the jam band is kind of coming back. Like it's almost like a resurgence. Like you said, it's been tough for a while, but I feel like I've heard about, you guys, Pigeons, all these other bands in like the span of the last 2 months, pretty much, and listening to you guys. And I feel like there's kind of this like resurgence. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I do think so. I think that when Fish took their first hiatus, it really gave all the other bands a chance to really, blow up, like Biscuits and String Cheese and Humphreys and all that stuff. And then, Fish came back, and when they do, they take everybody's fans, and you can't really book shows around when they're playing because everyone's going to be there. But in the same time, there's all these other bands that have been coming up, and we see the guys that are younger than us. The bands that are going to be coming up are unbelievable. We've had some openers on a couple tours that have completely like blown me away, and what these guys are doing with everything is unbelievable. So I think that there's a lot of good hope for the future of the jam scene. There's a lot of talented cats out there, and I wish them all the best and hope that they can rise to whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I come out of the Grateful Dead world, and it's very cool to me to look at the whole jam band scene the last bunch of years and see how diverse the music is, yet still all plays into the genre, right? So, you look at you guys and Pigeons and the Disco Biscuits and Widespread, and you start putting in the Allman Brothers and Fish and Talk, and it's just such diverse music that is all in the same scene that I think 20 years ago, if someone would have called like Talk a jam band, I don't know if they would have, most people would agree who were into the whole jam band scene at the time, which was much, much, much smaller. As you'd have people like Blues Traveler in the jam band scene and stuff like that. Not that
right,
wrong with
Spin
that.
Doctors was
right, exactly.
Jam band scene.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So I think now it's like, it's amazing because the music, again, it's all over, but it's so good in quality, and Humphreys and what they do, it's mind blowing to me, actually.
Humphreys is just
it couldn't
unbelievable.
be a better time to be a jam band fan, and Lotus. I mean, it's just wild. It's so cool.
Right.
So we do this little segment on the show where we ask our listeners to send us in questions that we ask some of the guests. So I have one for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So this actually comes from a listener. I can't read his name, but it looks like he's from Maryland. And his question is, how does your keyboardist's carpet match his name?
How does his carpet match his name?
Yeah, that's actually from Greg in Baltimore. As I look closer.
I'm not sure Red has a carpet. You mean at home or on the stage?
I don't know. I just got this random question, and I was like, all right, that's going on the book. So
wow.
I imagine it's got to be his stage carpet.
Maybe it's his stage carpet. Yeah, which he does. He doesn't have a stage carpet, so maybe it's his house carpet.
Maybe it's his house carpet. So I'm gonna have to go back to Greg and be like, "You're fucked up."
That's quite an interesting. I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Yeah, maybe you're gonna have to take it directly to the keyboardist.
Yeah, maybe.
We got this question for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's not a real segment that we do. Apparently it fell flat, but that was on. I just shot Greg a text last night. I'm like, hey, Brian coming on today. Anything you want me to mess around with? And he threw me that, and I'm gonna have to go back and be like, dude, nobody knows what you're talking about. No one even has a carpet.
There are no carpets.
They are so anti-carpet. Like they're smooth floorings everywhere they go. Like,
everything's hardwood.
Yeah, it's all hardwood floors. So you're playing Dome Fest, right?
Yep. Up to that.
That should be pretty awesome in the hills of West Virginia.
Yeah, I want to try to go to that. I honestly want to try to go.
Have you played that before?
No, haven't.
So it looks like you guys are the biggest built besides those guys. Like it's them and then you. When I was looking at the rosters of the bands on the weekend, that's got to be pretty
Very
awesome.
honored.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, which is awesome. I imagine it sounds like that's an incredible festival. It sounds like it's big festival feel, but limited. Like they keep the attendance way under control.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Pigeons have a great thing going on right now, and we want to be part of it. We want to hop around with all our friends, bands and play with all of them and stuff like that, and show all the fans what we can do.
Right.
We're kind of stuck out here in Arizona. We're not, part of the East Coast jam band crew. There's not a lot of us out here in the Southwest.
Right. You guys ever think
so
about
we kind of got to make it. Yeah, we think about moving, but it's so nice and relaxed out here. Sometimes it's hard to think about going back to the hustle bustle of like a city or something. It's we've made it this far, so I think that we can kind of keep going and just keep attaching the Arizona-ness like to our name,
right?
Because we are one of the only ones out here that have kind of broken out, so to speak. So maybe we wouldn't be as popular if we were just out there and just one of the other jam bands. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think now it's kind of too late to say you wouldn't be popular. so I mean, so you've gotten popular. So well done.
Now you're really going to be popular because you've just been on the Mangina dial.
So there is no turning back. So besides my grandmother and my mother, there's at least 2 other people that'll hear this now.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So anything else like you want to talk about the going into 2020, or is it just keep an eye out for the tour and listening to you guys anywhere people can find your music?
Yeah, keep an eye out on the tour. We're dropping a bunch of free stuff on our SoundCloud to keep people engaged that don't have iTunes and Spotify and stuff. We're going to be pumping up our content on YouTube and dropping some more videos and stuff. We're always working on new tunes and studio time and stuff. So we have a large catalog and it's kind of spread all over the place. So whether you listen to on Nugs or Spotify or iTunes or SoundCloud, we want to give a little something to everyone, like everywhere. So we're just trying to spread that around. But we got a big.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I know we just got a big winter tour ahead of us, and come on out, bring a friend, and dance and have fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because I just started actually using Nugs in the last couple weeks, and it's really awesome. Like obviously for the live music element of being able to listen to a million different bands that put their stuff up on there, and lets you see hear shows you just flat out wouldn't hear. I mean, I know obviously digital age you can almost get to anything, but the quality that's there and the curation and how they put stuff up and hey, check this out today is really awesome. Like for live music fans, which obviously jam band fans are. Do you have any strategy when you put stuff out there, or is it just hey, this is a great show, let's pop it up there?
Yeah, I mean, we try and get everything out from the tour that we can, but everything is still kind of DIY at this point. So we're mixing the things down. Jordan, our bass player, he's mixing everything down and trying to get that. But sometimes like a cable's not connected or something goes kind of haywire, so we can't get that show out.
Right.
So that kind of happens. But I think that Nugs basically carries the majority of our catalog, and then the rest of it is spread fairly thin from all the other platforms. So we're trying to bump those up as well, because not everybody has Nugs. But,
yeah, of course.
For the people that do, it's a fantastic platform just to listen to everything that we have to offer on it.
Yeah, it's so good, especially for all the your contemporaries that are in the younger crowd that just understand the getting it out there that way faster than some of the older bands do is really awesome.
Yeah, we try our best to get them out as fast as we can, but sometimes it doesn't happen. People get mad at us.
Well, they need to have some patience.
Yeah, that's what we say.
All right, man. Well, this was awesome. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, for real.
Obviously, it sucks that we're going to be stuck on the East Coast for your anniversary shows, which sound like they're going to be epic.
Yep, they're
But
going to be awesome.
we obviously wish you guys the best.
Yeah.
And when you make out this way, East Coast, we will be sure to see you for sure.
Please hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah, of
we'll
course.
Take care of you guys.
Awesome.
And we'd love to hang out with you.
Yeah, man. Likewise.
Hell yes.
All right. Well, you have a good holiday and an awesome New Year, and kick ass on those shows.
Yeah, have fun on the 10-year anniversary, man. Enjoy the Roxy.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, boys.
All right, brother. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks.